Julia Sand Letter Number 12, May 1882. Honorable Chester A. Arthur, you good old sinner. I had just made up my mind never, never, never again to write to you another word, when I heard that Nehemiah was still to be persecuted, and that melted my hard determination completely. Poor man, he would be surprised if he knew it, wouldn't he? But really it comforted me beyond measure. I had been out the night before, over at Dr. Strong's, to hear the Reverend Dr. Coulier lecture about Egypt and Palestine. He agrees to talk about 1 hour, but he did for about 2. I enjoyed it intensely. A person who has been dead and buried for 5 years is glad to hear about anything on the face of the earth. But my spinal column had not agreed to stand for that length of time, and there was no ozone generator in the room, except the undersized little broken vessel. So when the excitement was all over and I got back to my own little sitting room, I collapsed. If I had taken a glass of wine, I would have rallied in half an hour. I hadn't any to take, and no one was there to do anything for me. So I lay on the sofa for about 3 hours, more dead than alive, without the comfort of unconsciousness. Once or twice I thought of pounding on the wall and making somebody come. And then I thought, what was the use of making 2 women instead of 1 miserable? So I crawled off to my little bedroom, tumbled into bed somehow, and had a few small-sized nervous chills, and fell asleep between 3 and 4 in the morning. Can you imagine my mood when I awoke? Where would your cheerfulness be if you had a headache which extended to the tips of your fingers and the soles of your feet? I thought that this was the wickedest world that I had ever lived in. Everybody in it was an unmitigated worm, and they were all squirming down to perdition as fast as they could go. I am not sure that I did not think of you as heading the procession. When I came up after breakfast, I punished all my flowers, geraniums, primroses, and roses that are not prim alike, by pulling down the shades and not letting them have one gleam of sunlight. And then somebody brought me a newspaper. I felt like flinging it into the fire. Newspapers make me so sick. But I condescended to glance at it, and there I saw a paragraph saying that District Attorney Woodford was going to correct his mistake and continue the prosecution. And then, now don't laugh at me, I couldn't see anything more, for there were 2 big tears in my eyes, and half a dozen others rolling around generally. They were very cheerful tears, though, the kind of drops that rainbows are made of. But to think that I should have done you injustice, will you ever forgive me for not having you trusted you quite enough? But are you really, really, really going to be good, never make anyone worry about you anymore? If I could just feel that, sure of that, it would make me happier than anything else in the world. You have it in your power to do so much good and so much harm that it is impossible to be indifferent as to your actions. If I could know that you had resolved in the depths of your heart to serve the country faithfully and never let any small or selfish aim drag you from the path of duty, if I should never see you, I would be willing to give up all I have gained in health and lie here and suffer until the end of my life. And if I could think that I had influenced you in the smallest degree towards forming that resolution, I should feel that I had not lived in vain. May I rest peacefully in the trust that you will do right. Will you ever awaken me to a cruel disappointment? Sincerely your friend, J.I.S.